Okay, welcome everyone to the Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Agency meeting. It's Wednesday, April 27th, 2022 at 4:03 p.m. The Nebraska Open Meetings Act rules are on the north wall. We'll hold the meeting in accordance with those. Today we have 5 agency members present from Springfield. We have Mayor Bob Roseland from Gretna. We have Mayor Mike Evans from La Vista. We have city engineer Joe Susi from Papillion. We have Mayor Dave Black. I'm Don Kelly. I'll be representing Sarpy County. Beldie's absent, but I think they're en route, so we'll go ahead and press on. We also have our agency administrator, Dan Hoins, and our secretary, Lisa Hare. If you would, silence your cell phones, and let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I probably should make a comment before we get into the agency. Joe is actually Public Works Director, but he is also probably a pretty smart engineer in his own right. So
I stayed at a Holiday Inn.
So I'm sorry, Joe.
You're funny.
Got a little flustered there for a minute. Do any of the agency members have any announcements today? Okay, then we'll get right into our consultant and staff reports, starting with Dan Hoins, the agency administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Member mayors of the board, first, thank you for all of your support attendance at the event last week. I think it was well received and a good, proper kickoff to this important project, and so it wouldn't have happened without you, and appreciate that. More to the issue of today, we do have our agency treasurer, Phil Green, will be joining us via Zoom. We have a couple of issues that he's worked on, the audit and the budget amendment and the budget, and also the project engineer, Jeff Thompson. Phil has a work commitment. Project engineer, Jeff Thompson, is also out, but will be joining us via Zoom, so they'll be participating electronically. You should be able to see and interact with them like you do the others. So.
Okay. Thank you. Leanne Ziettlow, HDR Engineering.
Thanks, Lisa. Good afternoon. Updates since last month. Basically, we're at 95% complete on all of the packages in some form or fashion. A couple of them are down at NDE for approval. As you can note here, the ZC3, we actually completed that, and we've got the construction permit in hand. I just got an email from NDE that they're sending the construction permit for the lift stations, so we'll have that in hand. And the force mains, we're either reviewing the 95% with the agency administrators or the agency tech advisors, or we already have and they're on their way to NDE. So we're in really good shape as far as that goes. As noted, we submitted the 404 and the 408 a number of months ago. We're still waiting for information from the Corps. We have been talking with them to figure out what the timing is, but no word yet. The other items, as you know, we've been supporting Dan and Jeff on CMAR. We had a kickoff meeting with Hawkins earlier this week, and they've sent a couple of value engineering items for us to take a look at. So I think Jeff might talk about their schedule and how we go forward, but we're on board and helping however we can with that. So other than that, phase 1B, I think most of those activities are done, but that's what we've been doing this month.
Okay, questions for Leanne? Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you.
Adam Charlsen,
Thank you.
Agency Legal Counsel.
Thank you. The big lift of the last couple weeks actually last few months has been the amendment to the growth management plan policies that is on tonight's agenda. We've worked a lot with your administrators and the other advisor groups, and Steve Jensen and Jeff in particular doing the heavy lifting. So we have that, and I'm happy to see that come to the finish line today. The CMR contract with Hawkins, we've been having regular work and calls with their legal counsel. We had another positive one today. Once we get Jeff back into the fold here, we should be moving pretty quick on getting a final CMR contract, which then will lead into the whole GMP process and phasing, and hopefully by midsummer we'll be well on our way there. So, and then obviously the last piece that takes a lot of our time is the land rights and easement acquisitions, which a number of them are on today's agenda, and we're there to support with Midwest right away and the agency team on that as well. I could keep going, but it feels like every time I talk it's the same three things, so I will stop.
Okay.
Any questions for me?
Questions for Adam? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, 2 items on the consent agenda today. If any of the agency members would like to see either of those moved, let me know. Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve as published.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Papillion, second by Springfield. Discussion. Please vote.
Yeas 5, nays none, absent Bellevue.
Okay, on to the regular agenda. Our first item, number 3, is a presentation of our fiscal year audit for the year ending June 30th, 2021. Tim Lenz, KDV.
I think Treasurer Green, is he up?
He is,
Zoom?
but I think Tim was going to give the presentation.
Okay, come on up, Tim. Yep. He would have just told us good things about you.
Maybe. Good afternoon. Good to see you all again. I'm Tim Lenz with BerganKDV, the auditing firm. We'd audited the financial statements as of June 30 of 2021, working with Phil Green and Hayes & Associates, who helps you do your books. In your packet, you have the audit report. Pages 1 and 2 is the opinion that we issue over those financial statements. Similar to prior years, clean opinion, unmodified opinion, what you want to hear. So just meaning that the financial statements as they're presented here are materially correct in accordance with standards. There's a few other required supplemental information along with that packet. If you went and looked at pages 3 through 6, that's the management discussion and analysis. So Phil and Hayes & Associates help draft that up, give you a little narrative to the numbers for the year, what's going on, what's coming up, type of stuff. So, and then in the back, pages 19 and 20, is presented your budgetary comparison schedules. So comparing cash in and out compared to the adopted budget that you guys all adopt. I'm happy to report that the agency complied with this adopted budget. So good news there. On pages 23 through 24, we get into our report on compliance and internal control over financial reporting. We did have one finding there this year related to some material audit adjustments that we had to propose. I don't see that being an issue going forward. I think we've had discussions with Phil, and I think we understand what needs to happen there to get the books cleaned up at the year end for this next year. Pages 25 through 26, you'll find our report on compliance over each major federal program. Due to the agency expending more than $750,000 of federal funds through the Clean Water Act grant that you guys get through the state. We had to do some testing on that and test that as a major program. Happy to report that we did not have any findings over non-compliance of the material compliance issues that we have to test over that program. That's the audit report. In addition to that, I think in your packet you have our letter to those charged with governance, which just has some required communications that we have to have with you all. There's no injurious issues in there. We had no disagreements with management while doing this. And then there's also just a copy of the journal entries that we proposed as part of our audit there. So happy to answer any questions that you have, go into the numbers in detail, and put you to sleep either way.
Questions or comments? I don't know. I think that was a nice report. You know, for me, to read these audit reports, a little bit analogous to a dog watching TV. You know, I see it, but I don't understand it.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate the
Well.
two-page summary at the end, which caught my eyes. So
Yep.
looked like a great report. So I'd like to congratulate our agency treasurer who made that all possible, Bill Green.
Yep.
And I'll thank him in person next time I see him.
Yeah.
But we've had really strong financial leadership, so I'm glad your results validated that.
Yep. So appreciate helping you guys through this process and look forward to do it in the future. So
Yeah, thank you.
thanks.
Okay, item 4 is Resolution 13, approving the First Amendment to the Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Agency 2021-2022 budget. Would that be you, Dan, or?
Phil Green will do the amendment. I'll do the regular budget.
Okay, is that,
Phil's on Zoom.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
okay, there you go. Okay, we got you.
Yep. Can you hear me, Chairman Kelly?
You're good to go.
All right. Thank you, sir. Hello to you, Chairman, and rest of the board. Greetings from Columbus, Ohio. I'm out here for a quick meeting. Be back later tonight. But you do have before you here our first proposed amendment for the current year's budget. I would have said some nice things about Tim. We'll continue to do that, so we appreciate his involvement there with that audit, and we will correct the minor financial issues that we had on the reporting. With the budget before you, let me go ahead and it might be helpful if I can share my screen. And hopefully you can see that budget amendment on the screen there. What I've tried to do is highlight in the far right-hand column the few changes that we're recommending, and they really boil down to timing issues when we first put the budget together a year ago. A year ago, we had anticipated that before the end of last fiscal year, we would have drawn down the planning loan, that $5 million loan completely that we had with the state. Unfortunately, the very last draw was delayed by a few weeks, and so we didn't actually get the funds until into July, which was this current fiscal year. And so that means a transition of almost just a little over 1.9 million, not receiving it last year, which reduced the very top line that shows the amount of money that we had in the bank because we didn't have it yet. And then we also had to add it on as receiving it in this current fiscal year. So that's that first 1.9 million that you show there. With the advice from the administrators group, we've also put back in the pilot fees that we have been anticipating but not have officially requested for the last 2 years. I am going to be issuing actual letters to both Papillion as well as Sarpy County requesting that the pilot fees for the last 2 years be paid. So that's reflected in that fourth column as well, which is the $321,900 that should be received this year. Then as you go down the list, you'll see that one of the things we didn't have when we first put the budget together last year was the final schedule for the repayment of that $5 million planning loan. And we weren't sure if our first payment was going to be due during this current fiscal year or not. We did receive then the letter from them right at the end of last fiscal year that yes, we do have our first $250,000 payment due this in June of this year for this current fiscal year. So we've added that $250,000 payment. That also meant then that we have 2 administrative loan repayments, and so that's reflected in there as well. The rest of the grayed yellow areas simply reflect some minor increases that we had, primarily with the consultants because of some of the projects that we've had them working on our behalf. Again, you can see the audit fees that are reflected there because, again, we owed a little bit more due to some of the changes that were made with this current year's audit that we weren't aware of. And then finally on page 2, the area that has the largest changes are in the personnel area. both office equipment and personnel. Again, when we first put this budget together a year ago, we knew that we were going to be hiring an employee, didn't know who that would be, didn't know exactly what their needs were. Jeff, rightfully so, wants to use the advantages that we get with some technology and software to help manage projects. So those dollar amounts needed to be increased to reflect what we've been spending. We were able to actually reduce a little bit some of the other categories that are in the personnel area. So I'll highlight to you the bottom total for personnel is actually being reduced slightly in this amendment number 1 from 241,110 down to 193,300. So most of the increase, though, is from the additional consultant work, from the loan payment that's due, and then the income side from the pilot fees coming in, and then that 1.9 billion in the planning loan that we're getting in this year that we thought we would have last year. So I'll answer any questions anyone might have.
Questions for Phil? No, I don't think we have any. Motion, please.
Make a motion.
Second.
A motion by Springfield and a second by Gretna to approve the First Amendment to the budget for 22. Discussion? Please vote.
Yeas 5, nays none, absent Bellevue.
Okay, item number 5 is Resolution 14, approving the Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Agency 2022-2023 budget. Phil Green, Agency Treasurer.
I'll go ahead and do a brief intro, Mr. Chair,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Sure.
Member Mayors, I did have one follow-up question at the event last week. I was a little confused when you introduced me and said I had a unique personality. Everybody laughed. I couldn't figure out what that.
I think I nailed it, actually.
Well, you and 100 other people. I appreciate that. But just a couple of high-level comments, and then Bill's still on the line and Jeff's on the line. The way that we put this budget together this year, Jeff took the first shot. He went through and put down line by line, Excel spreadsheet, what he thought we would be seeing within the next year. Then he engaged Phil and I, and we had multiple meetings to put this together, and then we socialized that with the administrators, and I'm comfortable saying I think your administrators are all comfortable with this budget before you. We did have a lot of discussion, several meetings on that. I did last week, I went back just to, history is a great teacher, and read through every agency budget we've had, and 2018 doesn't seem that far long ago. On March 27th, 2018, here was the agency budget, $250,000 with a $250,000 donation from Sarpy County. And so in 4 years, we've gotten to this project this far and this level of sophistication. It's taken great cooperation, but it's always insightful for me to say, running an organization, you have a rear view mirror, you check it, but you keep your eyes ahead, and I think that's a good metaphor for this particular project. Now, the vote or the request for approval on this budget, from my perspective, as I sat down and looked at it, it is capital project heavy, obviously. The capital project line item is a 4 times factor increase, 12+ million to 51 and change. That is driven by 2 things. The first thing will be the completion of the Henches project, the $24.9 million project within the next year or so, and the beginning construction of the Hawkins contract, which, by the way, I'd say we're not quite ready. It's still going well. If you have questions, Jeff can answer that, but we anticipate that to be up to you next week. But that 4-time increase, the revenues also are increasing. 21 million last year, 55 this year, primarily, and again, a very conservative approach, the SRF loan from the state of Nebraska being the primary revenue generator. When I say conservative, we have some hopes maybe we can get some connection fees, but it won't be before we do a budget again. And so very, very minimal connection fees, I think $25,000. Treasurer Green mentioned the pilot. We will be getting $300,000 in that, but still we're living off of our loan. So that's a trend that is expected. I would expect next year the budget to look similar high capital costs. But after that, I'm very confident that we're going to flip it and we're going to start getting a lot of revenues so we can service that debt, because we'll actually have a sewer line to plug in. There's another significant change in there, and it's a trend. And again, I say this with all the respect I can muster to our agency consultants, in particular HDR. In this instance, we wouldn't be here without them as a team. But you'll see a 10% reduction in reliance on our consulting fees over the next year, about somewhere close to $500,000. That's really predicated on discussion that started internally with Jeff and I, socialized it out to the rest of the group, that in the HDR proposal, they would have been or submitted a proposal to do the construction observation, geotech studies, those type of things. As we sat down and looked at that, if we bring that in-house, there is a significant savings. We can pay for a full-time construction observer for a period of time. And again, please don't hear me, they're not critical of HDR. They could have delivered that service, but and I said it last year, we need to wean ourselves off the reliance on consultants. Their role will become less. And I've had some good conversations with Leanne and those. It's not unexpected to them. They're still part of our team, and I told her she'll be up there with her finger on the first flush with us coming in. But it's just a natural progression of the agency. So we did do a draft description, or a draft job description, ran it by the administrators, looked through it. If it's approved, and the salary range for the skill level we're looking at is between $65,000 and $87,000 for base pay on there, and so that's what we programmed in would be a second full-time employee. If approved, we'd start the recruitment, but much as we've managed this project from the beginning, it'll be a very collaborative approach. That person would direct report to Jeff, but would be an agency employee. Check my notes here. That pretty much covers it, Mr. Chair and member mayors. High capital costs for the next couple of years, another FTE that would anticipate, again, an advantage internal discussion we had. If we get the right person on, certainly the goal that they're going to have the benefit of watching that pipe actually go in the ground. And, we haven't fully resolved the maintenance, the O&M of this. That's going to be a real home field advantage for whoever we hire to work with Jeff while the pipe's going into the ground. So that's not a request we make lightly. Again, I think the decision was made in a very collaborative manner and would respectfully request approval of the budget. And again, got Jeff's spreadsheet. He's here, willing to go down line by line. I guess one other comment I'd like to make. We didn't fully resolve it, but the treasurer and secretary duties are becoming labor intensive for the people involved. Lisa from the county side, Phil from the city side at this point. And so I put a placeholder in there, $24,000. Initially, I thought that we would reimburse the county and Papillion or whomever holds those positions at $1,000 a month to offset some of that burden on the local entities and share it as an agency responsibility. But I've just begun discussions with some of the administrators on how we can transition, and I'm not sure what that'll look like, if it's a reimbursement or we got to outsource more of the treasurer duties. But we'll get a more solid answer in the next few months and then bring it back to you for a decision. So I'll pause there, Mr. Chair, member mayors, and Phil and Jeff are both available to answer any questions on the lines.
I just got one looking at material items. Midwest right-of-way went up very significantly, and we've already required most of the right-of-way. So what's that increase with them?
The increase in the amendment, which drove it up initially, was their scope of service didn't include some appraisals.
That was the one we already approved, but now
that
the
one,
budget's
so.
going up even more.
Yeah, Jeff, you still on?
He's still on. We got to switch it over. Hold on.
Unmuting, and he's going to,
Yeah.
there he goes.
Yes, I am. Are you able to hear me?
Could you hear Mayor Black's question, Jeff?
I did. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Yeah, thanks, Mayor Black. Yeah, actually, later on in the agenda, you'll see an item for a request for an increase in compensation for Midwest right-of-way. I think this is a similar trend to what we've seen with HDR with the changes in the Platteview Road right-of-way. and alignment changes. There was a lot more effort and work that was required for that than originally anticipated, and there's several tracks, actually about 52 tracks that we haven't acquired yet. So we're still in the process of acquisition of those tracks for segments
That makes sense.
1, 2, and 3.
So if I'm going to tell them what time it is, that it's the inflation and the higher land costs
That answered it. Well,
Yes, sir,
52
correct.
tracks.
and 52
Yeah.
tracks, yeah.
Thank you.
I see our chairman and our, Joe, you're vice chairman now, so you have the gavel?
Sorry.
Any further questions? Mr. Chair, member mayors on the budget? And again, just so you're aware that this is the first approval process, then it will make its way through each of your cities in Sarpy County before it's finally approved. So if you want as cities, myself, Phil, or Jeff to come to your council to explain this, please let us know and we'll be glad to attend and help you walk it through.
Dan,
Yes.
this is Phil Green. If I can, I'd like to make just one quick comment too, so that they can understand one of the significant other changes that we've made on this particular budget, and that is breaking down our actual checking account. If the board recalls, part of the agreement that we had with the state in moving forward with the construction loan was that they asked us to kind of, in a sense, subdivide our current checking account into operations and maintenance, loan repayment, any potential county repayment if the county ended up having to make any payments, and then finally what they call the surplus. And so that is listed on your budget there in that third column. The $1,424,075 for operations and maintenance directly ties into the numbers that are in later on in the budget. And so basically we're pre-setting aside that money for operations and maintenance, and then we spend it out throughout the rest of the fiscal year. The same with the loan repayment. So we've got in next year's budget two $250,000 repayments for the planning loan. That's reflected then in that 1.5 million. But it's important to know we've pre-set aside $1 million and just are going to leave it sitting there for future repayments of even the construction loan. And that's part of the arrangement that we'd made with the state, showing them that we had the capital that we could set aside, plus the counties set some aside. So all of that is reflected there at the top of that budget.
Thank you, Phil.
Yep.
Questions for Phil?
Well, I just wanted to comment on the treasurer aspect. Because the budget's getting to a part where you don't want, an amateur doing it, is the thought to rotate it around to the cities, or just do you think it's going to go out for a contract?
My best guess, Mr. Chair, is the formation agreement rightfully requires the agency to have administrator, treasurer, and secretary. So I would assume that, I would hope somebody from the agencies, preferably a city, would loan us or allow somebody to continue to be treasurer, but their role would be less in terms of the keying of the information, but more of a manager with an outsourced accounting company.
Right.
That's what I would see.
But still compensated for whatever amount of time they put in?
I think that's a decision to be made. I don't think we're real certain on what recommendation we would suggest on that.
Okay, thank you.
But that funding could give us some source, a revenue source to outsource some of this too.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns for Dan or Phil or Jeff? Okay, motion, please.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Gretna, second by Papillion. Discussion? Please vote.
Yeas 5, nays none, absent Belleville.
Okay, thank you. Item 6 is Resolution 15, adopting and approving the revised growth management plan and related policies and procedures. Dan Hoins, Agency Administrator.
I'll defer to the gentleman from Husch,
All right.
Blackwell.
Adam Charlsen, Husch Blackwell.
since he did all the work.
No, well, no, I did a lot of the writing. This is most definitely a huge group effort. Steve and Jeff get a ton of credit, as well as your administrators. The changes kind of fall in two buckets to the growth management plan policies. One of them is to make certain, we're calling administrative changes, a little more easier, more frequent in between board meetings so we don't slow up development. We're clarifying and changing some things on, calling the yellow and pink map, growth zones map. And then the other kind of bucket is we wrote in this new revision, kind of codifying some things that we've learned to be common practice after going at this for the last couple of years and from the initial version. I could answer any questions you have, but those are kind of the high-level things, and we've asked for the board to approve that resolution. And then the next resolution after it, actually, while I'm up here, is a similar one. It's amending the formation interlocal to allow for some administrative changes to the agency jurisdiction boundary. And again, it's small things, 5 acres or less, along the periphery, the boundary of the agency jurisdiction, not big wholesale things. It's more intended, for example, like if a development is 90% within the agency jurisdiction and 10% out, or maybe probably even smaller than that, 98% in, 2% out, we can clean up boundaries for that. So we discuss any questions you may have.
Questions, comments? Just a comment in general. Whenever we make changes, it'd be really helpful if there were change bars or something annotated, so I didn't see that when I looked through the agenda. You know what I mean? So that way, I don't have to read the whole thing to figure out what was changed.
I could do that. I can do that next time. I know all the administrators.
I think it would help the agency board a lot if we could that way we could focus in right in on the change and not.
I can certainly do that. Yeah.
That'd be helpful.
Yeah.
Just appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, no comments or questions? Motion, please?
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Springfield, second by Gretna. Discussion? Please vote.
Mayor Evans, are you able to vote?
Yeah, no, I'm not. 4.
Yeas 5, nays none, absent Bellevue.
Okay, item 7 is Resolution 16, a third amendment to the interlocal agreement of our Sarpy and Cities Wastewater Agency. Adam?
Yeah, and I know I just mentioned earlier that this third amendment to the formation of local addresses the administrative changes to the boundaries. We also added in language to explicitly authorize the agency to seek, hold, maintain certain permits for grading and stuff that, there's other agencies out here other than us who have say in this, and one of them is asking that we be more explicit in those authorities. So this is not in the original formation or local, so we added that in. So that was the other change. I just want to make sure you're aware.
Thank you. And these, like the budget, these are going to go through all the cities for approval?
Yes, yes.
After we're done, okay.
And I'll make resolutions to your administrators that you need them. They're kind of fill in the blank ones. If that
To make sure those do include the red line version.
Oh, I'll do that. Yep.
Okay, motion, please.
Motion. Billion.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Papillion, second by Springfield. Discussion? Please vote.
Joe, Susie, are you able to vote? Are you able to vote?
Yeah, I did. It was 4.
Okay, it's not showing up on mine. Mayor Black, are you also able to vote? It's not showing up for some reason. Is your vote yes, Mayor Black? Yeas 5, nays none, absent Bellevue.
Okay, item 8 is Resolution 17, approving amendment to the professional right-of-way services proposal with Midwest Right-of-Way. Jeff Thompson, Agency Project Engineer.
Thank you, Chairman Kelly, agency member mayors. Am I coming through clearly?
Yes.
Okay, very good, thank you. Again, talked about this just briefly on one of the other previous agenda items. This is amendment to Midwest Right-of-Way's original contract for services for right-of-way acquisitions. As part of their original contract, a major portion of this revolves around appraisals. As part of that original contract with Midwest Right-of-Way, there was an assumption made that the agency would provide appraisals to Midwest Right-of-Way for them to utilize in their negotiations, when in fact Midwest actually went to the market, provided those, and had passed that through as a bill through and counted that against their current contract amount. So they're asking for compensation for the cost of that appraisal work, as well as the appraisals that are required to finish the project. Again, we have about 52 tracks left to negotiate, and there's a lot more time and effort involved with some right of entries that they were asked to acquire for several property owners to get geotechnical explorations, survey work, environmental assessments, and those types of things to help with the design efforts on this project. So I won't belabor the issue. We'll open it up for questions if there are any.
Questions for Jeff? Motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Gredna, second by Springfield. Discussion? Please vote.
Yeas 5, nays none, absent Bellevue.
Okay, for the protection of the public interest, I move we go into executive session to discuss real estate. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Sarpy, a second by Springfield to go into executive session. Discussion? Please vote.
Yeas 5, nays none, absent Bellevue.
Okay, it's now 4:40. We're going to go into executive session where our discussion will be restricted to real estate. Executive session where our discussion was restricted to real estate. Need a motion to return to the regular session?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Papillion, second by Springfield. Please vote.
Yeas 5, nays none, absent Bellevue.
Okay, returning to our agenda, item 10 is Resolution 18, authorizing the agency to execute land rights purchase and agreements and related instruments for certain tracts owned by Ronald Hanson and Carolyn Hanson and James C. Crossland and Rita Crossland, trustees. Adam.
Thank you. This resolution covers the tracks that we've been calling the Hanson tracks. It's actually under two different sets of ownership. I believe, make sure I say that right. Maybe it's three. It's two. Ronald Hanson, Catherine Hanson, and Rita Crossland and James Crossland is one, and then Ronald and Catherine on another tract. So the number there is a combined for the permanent easements and access easements and temporary easements for that.
Questions for Adam? Motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Gretna, second by Springfield. Discussion? Please vote.
Yeas 5, nays none, absent Bellevue.
Item 11 is Resolution 19, authorizing the agency to execute land rights purchase agreements and instruments for certain tracts of land owned by Randy J. Sump. Adam.
Thank you. This one, we're asking for approval to execute a purchase agreement for the purchase of from one tract from Mr. Sump for $46,945, not to exceed, and it's for some permanent and temporary easements.
Questions for Adam? I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 20?
Second.
I'm sorry, 19?
Second.
Second by Papillion. Any discussion? Please vote.
Yeas 5, nays none, absent Bellevue.
Item 12 is Resolution 20, authorizing the agency to execute land rights purchase agreements for certain tracts owned by Jonathan J. Schramm and Sarah M. Schramm, Michael J. Schramm, and Daniel L. Schramm. Adam.
Thank you. This resolution is dealing with acquisition of land rights related to the Schramm tracts. I would like to amend, actually consider amended resolution on this. If you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6 whereas clause, I'd like to replace the total purchase price. This does state $170,252 with $112,180, and make the same change on the first paragraph of the second page to the number. It was a scrivener's error on my part. I think I combined the initial counter from the landowners in there, and not the current number that Midwest negotiated them to.
So what's the number supposed to be?
$112,180, and that's all the land rights in this one. It includes some fee title and easements.
112, 180?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I can provide, I drafted one
You
up.
need a motion to amend? You need the motion to amend?
Yes.
I'd make the motion to amend from 170,252 to 112,180, wherever it's referenced in the resolution.
I have a motion to amend, second by Papillion, second by Springfield. Any discussion on that? Please vote.
Yeas 5, nays none, absent Bellevue.
Okay.
Motion to approve is amended?
Second by, motion by Papillion to approve as amended, second by Gretna. Discussion?
Hold on, let me get a motion down there. Hold on.
Verbal vote?
Sorry, Lisa.
That's okay. No, I gotta just get a motion down.
We kind of got off the track here, but,
Hold
so
on.
we'll just do a verbal vote?
Yeah.
So we made a motion to amend,
There,
and it was voted on. And now we have a new motion to approve the amended
Yeah.
resolution. So, and that, we just need to vote on it. So can we do a verbal vote, or do you
There, you should have vote now. Do you see a vote?
no?
Okay, go ahead and,
I'll just do a roll call real quick. Is that okay?
yep, that's fine.
Springfield?
Yes.
Gretna?
Yes.
La Vista?
Yes.
Papillion?
Yes.
Sarpy, yes.
Yeas 5, nays none, absent Bellevue.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Item 13. I'm sorry, item 12. No, item 13. Resolution 21, approving the filing of petitions to condemn necessary property rights. Adam Charlsen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Resolution 2022-021, we're asking for authorization to file petitions to condemn land rights for two separate property owner, or two separate tracts, all easements, no fee title.
Questions for Adam? Motion, please.
Motion approved.
I'll second it. Motion by Gretna, second by Sarpy. Discussion? Please vote.
Yeas 5, nays none, absent Bellevue.
Okay, thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Okay, our next meeting is May 25th, 2022. And all agenda items having been addressed as published, the Sarpy County and